one is about the learner from start to end. Really, it's about explaining the process in which you, the learner, will go from initial sign up to completing your qualification. The aim of this session really is relatively straightforward. It's to understand the process to your achievement. So starting off with that then, you have obviously put yourself forward because you wish to upskill yourself. This could be for personal or for work reasons. It's important to remember why you're on your qualification that you've chosen, because it is going to take about a year for you to complete this, and we need to sometimes remember the reason we started it. The second process then really is you should receive a phone call or maybe a visit from an assessor who will give you some advice and guidance around your options. So they'll have an initial chat with you around your previous experience, looking at some of your needs, wishes and wants, and try and help you come to a decision over what it is you'd like to do. As you can see there then, a sign-up officer will visit you at your place of work, and they'll undertake the necessary paperwork checks for funding. One of the, or a few of the things that they'll do, they'll need some time with the employer to discuss the employer's responsibilities with an apprentice or working with a learner within their environment. The other thing that they'll try and do is establish a mentor, so somebody internally that can support you. They'll complete a health and safety risk assessment to ensure that you're in a safe learning environment to take on the work, and that the workplace is an appropriate place for you to undertake your training. So the standards that you're going to be taught whilst you're there, we feel straight away is an appropriate set of standards for you. Finally, they'll obviously sit down with you as the learner and discuss your history and what it is you want to do. Once the initial paperwork's been completed and the funding checks have been done, then you and your employer will obviously agree to undertake your framework. That paperwork will go off, and your assessor or tutor will call you and ask you to email them some basic information. The first thing they'll want to know is, do you have a CV? And they'd want you to produce a CV with a covering letter. Really, the covering letter just needs to outline who you are and why you're doing the qualification, just so your assessor has an idea of who you are. They'll want to see your CV because they can do a process called RPLE, which is recognition of prior learning and experience. With any competency-based qualification, it's unlikely there's an entrance criteria other than, are you in the right job to be doing it, and do you have the right sector experience to be doing it? So for that, they'll also need your job description. Finally, because it is a work-based qualification, they need to ensure that you have a contract of employment. So that's the first thing your assessor will ask for. So if you could ensure that you do that in a timely fashion, it will support the assessor to move forward. Equally, it allows them an opportunity to plan before they come and meet you and give you a bit of advice and guidance around the things you've written in your letter that you want to know. So the other things they're going to be checking for really is whether or not you manage to type your letter, type your CV and email it. So they're checking your basic ICT skills to ensure that you can use the system, and obviously you can meet the minimum requirements for IT. Once you've been approved, and your assessor will call you to book a few hours with you to run through the course and undertake the induction with you. Now, this needs to be agreed with you and your assessor. You'll need access to a computer. Now, some work placements do not have access to computers, or it's not appropriate for you to be undertaking that at work. So you might need to do that session remotely, and that's absolutely fine. Again, it's about meeting your needs and what's appropriate. The assessor will just call you up and they'll show you the website, and on the website they'll give you a basic overview of what's on each page and start you on your learning program. After that, they'll agree a basic Learne'r personal development plan with you. Now, the learning development plan is there to give you an idea of what's involved in the course. The other thing that they'll agree in that are the review dates for meeting you and the employer. Each month, your assessor needs to support your progress to the lead verifier to ensure that you're meeting your learning personal development plan. Now, I've got one here that I can show you. So this is a learning development plan, and again, they're written in line with something that's called the scheme of work, which generally is the big picture overview. In here, it just gives you an idea of what's going to happen when, and a tracking document, so there's no real hidden shocks for you. So you can see here, in task 1, you'll obviously have your induction and a learning style questionnaire. It's important on the onset that the assessor gets to understand what your learning styles are and the best way to communicate with you. The second task that you'll be asked to do is to complete the BKSB assessment, and that comes in 2 parts. That's the initial assessment, which you may have completed on the sign-up, and then a diagnostic, which gives the assessor a breakdown of your strengths and your weaknesses, and they can be able to plan with you the gaps that need to be built. So rather than you feeling you're going to be attending maths and English classes, it's not like that at all. It's simply a tool for the assessor to say, well, okay, I know you're not very good at maybe using grammar, so your spelling's absolutely fine. We'll just concentrate on grammar and see if we can try and improve that area for you. Without doing those basic diagnostic assessments, it's very difficult for the assessor to plan what they're going to do with you. Again, you could view the how-to videos, and there is a little how-to video on the BKSB, so you can watch that and obviously see what that report looks like. After that, you'll need to undertake quite swiftly the 4 little workbooks. One is around safeguarding, and that's about you as a learner understanding how to work in a safe environment for yourself and safeguarding yourself against harm. The second is to start the Be Safe workbook. This is just a small workbook, and it's really about you identifying your place of work and whether you know the basics, so before we move on to any of the more challenging tasks. The third one is to recognise what equality and diversity is, and how we can promote that in your place of work, and how we can meet your individual needs, and we can plan for those. And finally, before the first 4 to 8 weeks are up, you really should have completed your ERR unit. That will be done via an online classroom in our site, which is our e-learning site, and you'll be given a workbook to complete. Again, you complete those and email them over to your assessor. So by the time you have your first review with your assessor, and by the time they come out to see you, hopefully you would have completed your learning style questionnaire, your BKSB assessment, your Be Safe mini workbook, your safeguarding workbook, your equality and diversity workbook, and your ERR workbook. When the assessor does come out to visit you, they'll obviously then start looking at the other parts of the qualifications and plan the rest of your learning and development plan with you. They'll talk to you about your technical certificate workbooks and how you're going to achieve those, your main aim workbooks and how you're going to achieve those, and obviously start talking to you about the workplace observations that then need to be booked in. You can also see within your personal development plan that they'll need to book time with you to undertake your functional skills speaking and listening assessment, your functional skills reading, functional skills written, and functional skills maths, and ICT if you're on a pathway that includes it. It's important to recognise the fact that these parts must be done in the workplace, so it's really important that you've got permission from your manager and that they understand the amount of work that's involved and the time that they need to give you available free to complete those parts. If we spread it over the year, then obviously it's not so bad, and you'll only be looking at a few hours here and there, rather than obviously doing it in one go where it could become quite timely. Finally, we need to obviously talk to your manager or your supervisor to gain expert witnesses from them, and there'll be some multiple choice questions. At the end of the sessions, your assessor will book some time with you to conduct a professional discussion, and that's really to gather evidence around your competencies and your knowledge around the qualification and your experience. Straight away after your first review, your assessor can book in with you the dates for your other reviews, so you're aware of what you need to do and when. So there'll be no reason for when you have your reviews for you to be saying that you wasn't sure what you had to do, because obviously you can see there's plenty of work there for you to be getting on with. Once that's all agreed, it's really then over to you to get yourself ready for the assessments. Now, contrary to what people say, we're not just going to turn up and start doing observations with you. We need to ensure that you're ready for assessments first. There seems to be a lot of misunderstanding around the role of the assessor and whose responsibility it is to do what. Your assessor there is there to support you, to guide you, to facilitate you and to challenge you and to grow you and develop you. They're not there to hold your hand and tell you what to write. They're there to support you in upskilling yourself and getting yourself ready for assessments. The role of an assessor is that what it says in the name. They're there to assess your competencies and give you a judgment. For that, they obviously need to help and support you in the role as a tutor and a teacher to prepare you for those assessments. And you can see here the types of assessments that are going to take place. You'll need to agree the dates for the observations. You'll need to agree when the assessor is going to do the assessment of work records, and when you're going to undertake the assessments of functional skills, maths, English and ICT. Alongside that, your assessor will need time with you and your employer to undertake the review. And again, it could be about an hour a review. So you can start to get a feel about the time that you need to be taken with the employer to ensure that you're on programme and that you're being supported. Your assessor will each month then phone you and do via a remote session, and they'll support you in developing the necessary skills you need, and they'll also give you feedback each time they call you. So for this, things such as workbooks, professional discussions, assignments, BKSB assessments, functional skills practice tests, the assessor doesn't need to be there for that. That's things that you can do in your own time to upskill yourself. And clearly, it's far better to have the assessor on hand when you need them, rather than coming out to see you once a month and spending an hour with you, and it may not be, at the time, it may not be that you've got the sufficient time to do that. When the assessor does come out to see you on the face-to-face visits, you can see previous to this all the things that they're going to be doing with you. They've got to be getting you ready for assessments. They've got to be reviewing where you're at on your program. They've got to be undertaking assessments with you, your key skills, your observations. With all of that going on, and the fact that they don't have to mark your work and cross-reference it, it relies heavily on both parties working remotely to achieve your qualification. Also, in the Learning and Development Plan, there are agreed dates. Now, you'll agree those dates with the assessor. Once the dates have been agreed, they will become a fixed point in time. For example, your ERR unit needs to be completed within the first month. Your functional skills will need to be completed within 6 months. Your technical certificate ideally should be completed and achieved within 9 months, and your main aim and personal and thinking skills generally are signed off towards the 12-month mark. It's important you stick to those dates, because that's how the sessions and the planning works for you to achieve your main aims and goals. When you get to the end of all your tasks set by your assessor and you've achieved all the assessment plans, finally you should do a thing with your assessor called an IAG session, which is about independent advice and guidance. They're in there, they're looking at supporting you for your next steps and helping you reflect on what you've learnt already. I'm going to show you one more thing which I think is really important as a candidate you see, and that is the schemes of work and the session plans that your assessors are working to. Over a period of the year, the assessor needs to have with you a total of 34 sessions. Now, traditionally, everybody goes, well, my assessors only come out and see me once a month. Well, if you look at the size of your qualification and you look at the guided learning that needs to take place, and you look at all of the activities that needs to happen, that clearly is not enough time. So we might as well be realistic about this and agree this with you now, so you understand the time that you've got to put aside to achieve your qualification in a way where you feel that you've earned it and that it does impact and make a difference in your performance and your life. So let me show you, with that in mind, what your scheme of work looks like. So this one is for customer service level 2. It's one of the shorter qualifications, but nevertheless there's no need to value that at all. You can see here on a scheme of work, what it does is it looks at the total guided learning. Now that's a combination of face-to-face visits, that's a combination of distant learning, and that's a combination of work placement time as well. So that's time on the job. If you're brand new to the job, you'll obviously we can't sign you off before those 466 hours have obviously passed. If you've been in the job a while, then obviously we can use the recognition of prior learning and experience route to get you through it. We've done the scheme over 34 weeks, as that's an academic year in line with colleges. So there you can see roughly what that equates to. It equates to about 13.7 hours per week for you to achieve the guided learning hours. So when you think about the time it takes you to complete the workbooks, do the online classrooms, attend the seminars, and do your work placement activities, you can see clearly how that would add up to those totals quite quickly. Here you can see the framework of the qualification. Every qualification has a competency part. Most of the apprenticeship frameworks have knowledge. I think it's only the children and young people's workforce that doesn't. And then you have your transferable skills, which is your maths, or English, your ICT, and your ERR. Within the sessions, what you can see is that we've booked the topics here. So that's what we're going to be discussing with you in session 1. These are the assessment methods we're going to be using, or how we're going to do it. They're the resources we're going to need to have available for you and us to complete it. This is how it's generic. And then finally here we're looking at the units those activities meet that we're going to be doing, and then the products or the assessment that's going to take place to ensure that you've understood and we've understood how you achieved it. So I'll just gently slide that down just so you can see the vast amount of work and planning that goes in behind your qualification to ensure that you're being taught and delivered a qualification that is robust and has value, meaning, and you can see there all the activities that's planned for you to undertake. And again, if you keep an eye on this column here, it's only small activities each session. It's only one activity or smaller activities. But what's important to understand is the fact that they are planned. So if you start missing the activities and you start to fall behind, you're going to find it hard to then play catch up to achieve your qualification. So at that point, it becomes really important that we support you in achieving your award. Then, just to show you, we then have the session plans. So we're not making it up as we go along. This isn't ad hoc. You're working towards a robust curriculum. So for example, in your first session, you are going to cover this. You're going to cover those learning outcomes there, understanding how to create accounts, download workbooks, how to revise, demonstrate the ability to follow links, understand how to contact people, understand the purpose of the forums, and to download your ICT workbooks. Here you'll have a breakdown of that session on what you'll be doing in that session with your tutor. And again, that's one-to-one support you have with that. Now you'll notice that session goes from an hour to an hour and a half. So that's really all we're looking for. When we say we need to book some time with you, all we're asking for is an hour of your time to go through that session with you, so you fully understand what's involved, and we can then sign you off against those assessment criteria. Or learning outcomes, sorry. Now, if you wanted to, I have no problems on request. If you wanted a PDF of the schemes of work and the session plans, or a copy of the session plans, so when your assessor calls and says, right, we're now going to be on session number 2, you're aware of what you're going to be doing, and therefore you can prepare yourself. Equally alongside that, each session then has the PowerPoints, a bit like this session really, that then run inside, and you can then see from there the aims of the session are there, and then they run through with how to complete and undertake tasks. So at every point you'll have a clear understanding of what you're doing and why you're doing it. So going back to our main reasons for undertaking this. The aim of this session was for you to understand about the learner's process to achievement. Hopefully I've explained to you now how you're going to achieve your qualification and the process that you're going to go through. By working alongside your assessor, undertaking your induction, completing the learning development plan, complete the workbooks in line and the tasks when you're told to do them. Agree the dates with your assessor for the observations and agree the dates for your reviews. And if you follow that, there is absolutely no reason why you won't achieve your qualification in a timely manner where you don't feel completely stressed out by the process. I hope you found this session useful. I'm aware it's quite a lot to take in. Obviously, the reason I've recorded these sessions are that you can then play them back and obviously watch them again. So thank you for your time. Thank you for watching this. If you need any further advice or guidance, feel free to email me at stephen@educations.co.uk.